Xaver, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Sure is great to see you once again. In just a second, we'll visit an Orleans man who is bringing music and meaning into his life.
In the second part of our show, we're going to meet Susanna Sullivan, who has played piano most of her life. It has been her passion and her paycheck. That is until she learned to sew. And now Susanna is doing some pretty interesting recycling adventures. We'll find out more about that.
Sure look forward to meeting Susanna, but first, the handmade guitars of Jerry Gruber. Like many, Jerry Gruber was seduced by the sixth string in his youth.
I've played guitar since I was 12.
He's always been passionate about its sound.
Projection is important to me. The guitar has to be heard, but more than heard, each string has to be perceptible, and so you have to be able to hear each of the six strings individually project to the audience.
But playing the guitar is just one way of making beautiful music. Jerry has found another.
Guitars are one of the most beautiful instruments I think we have. When you think about the shape of the guitar, the colors, it's a beautiful instrument, and I think that a good sounding guitar should be a work of art.
It's Jerry Gruber's mission to build your dream guitar, that once-in-a-lifetime instrument you've always craved.
Oh, it's a high. It's a high. I can build a guitar and look at it and think, well, gee, that looks pretty good. I really feel good about that. I can even play it and think that's the sound I'm looking for. But when somebody else picks up one of my guitars and starts to play it and make music with it, that is one of the best feelings I can imagine.
He's been handcrafting guitars since 1999. Jerry's a member of the Guild of American Luthiers and the Association of Stringed Instrument Artisans. These musical art pieces are inspired by and named after his grandfather, a gifted cabinet maker and craftsman of all things wooden.
My grandfather had a very difficult life. He came to Canada between the two wars. He worked as a farmer in Saskatchewan. He was trained as a cabinet maker in Germany, but he was farming in Saskatchewan. And in spite of the challenges that he faced in his life, he raised his family during the dirty 30s, the Great Depression. I only remember him ever having a smile on his face and laughing. But it was his positive attitude towards life that I thought I really wanted to capture, and so every one of my guitars carries his name, Xaver. Franz Xaver Gruber was his name, and it's an honor to be able to put his name on there, and I just hope that he's okay with that, and that I do justice to his memory by building as good a guitar as I can.
This wasn't always Jerry's calling. For years, he worked in the field of human resources, first for the government, and later as an independent consultant. But Jerry's creative being longed for more.
Maybe 15 years ago, my wife bought me a book on how to build guitars, and she presented that to me because I had been building furniture, odds and ends, woodworking all my life. And so I looked at this guitar book and read it through, and well, that's interesting, but I'm not sure what it has to do with me, and I set it down. And then maybe a couple years later, I picked it up again and looked it through, and I bet you I could build one of these if I put my mind to it, and I did. And it turned out okay. It actually sounded like a guitar, it looked like a guitar, and so I thought, gee, maybe I'll build another one for my daughter and another one for my son, and I don't have a 12-string, so I'll try building a 12-string. And after I built about 4 of them, I thought, okay, I can build a guitar, and now I'll put that book away for good. But then, as my career in consulting kind of came around full circle, I realized that I was looking for new challenges. And I thought, well, I could continue to do this consulting work until I'm 60, 65, retire, and then build guitars in retirement. But I'm only 50 right now, and if I start doing this full-time right now, I could do this, maybe, I could make something out of this. I would have maybe 15, 20 years before I might have to slow down. And maybe by that time I can actually build a decent guitar. So I quit my day job and started building guitars. And again, I'm sure people looked at me and said, Jerry, you're going from a 6-figure salary to hopefully a 4-figure salary if things work out. But it's not about the money at all. It's about doing something that makes me want to get out of bed in the morning.
Jerry produces his pieces in a climate-controlled workshop in his Ottawa home, using an array of high-quality tonal woods that are shipped in from around the world.
With respect to the soundboard, that's the front of the guitar that you would see if I was holding one in front of me. Not a lot of variation there. It has to be a softwood because of the acoustics that softwoods offer. I'm using primarily spruce, Sitka spruce. At this point in my career, I'm intentionally experimenting with different kinds of woods to get that learning under my belt, to know what it's like to work with shadua, with paduk, with babinga, these woods that maybe you wouldn't see so often in a guitar store. My guess is that over time I'll probably settle more on the East Indian rosewood, figured maple, simply because those are the kinds of guitars that the marketplace calls for.
His goal is to offer clients guitars that surpass their expectations, custom instruments with unique playability, and individual accents that enhance their aesthetic.
I focus on 3 different models. This is the biggest of the 3. It's a dreadnought, and the shape of the dreadnought is probably the most familiar shape for an acoustic steel string guitar. It's characterized by its very shallow waist and its square shoulders and tail. And because it's quite deep, about 5 inches thick, it really pronounces on the bass. You really get a good bass sound really comes out strong, and so dreadnoughts are typically used for strumming, the rhythm part of the band. This is the second model that I built. It's called a mini jumbo, and there's really nothing mini about it. It's a big guitar, about the same size as the Dread, but it's shallower, about 4.5 inches thick, but it's got a wider lower bout, about 16.25 inches versus the 15.5 on the Dread. And the jumbo is a very versatile guitar. You can strum it, or you can flat pick it. You can finger style. It's a very versatile instrument. This is the smallest of the 3 guitars I build. It's called a Grand Concert. It has a shorter scale length than the Dreadnought and the Mini Jumbo, and the body is also smaller. It's about 15 inches across versus 16.25 on the Mini Jumbo, but it really is just a shrunk down Mini Jumbo, and it's really great for smaller people, women, smaller men. It's easy to handle, and it's great for finger style or flat picking because of the delicate touch that it has. Every luthier looks forward to, perhaps fears the moment when they string up that guitar and they strum it for the first time. It's a bit of an unusual manufacturing process. I can't think of too many products where you work maybe as long as a year on something, not knowing whether it's actually going to work until it's completely finished. And then you play it and you go, good, this sounds like an orange crate, or this sounds wonderful. But that's the experience of building a guitar.
While he strives to build that perfect guitar, Jerry finds satisfaction in knowing that he's doing something he loves. Stepping out of the comfort zone of his old life years ago, he walked into a happy world of reward and possibility.
For me, the greater risk is looking back at my life at some day and saying, if only I had tried to do that. And I don't want to leave any rocks unturned. And I'm absolutely certain that at some point later on in life, I would look back and I would say, I cheated myself. I passed on this opportunity. And that I don't want to do. There is an opportunity for me to accomplish something here, and by gosh, I'm going to do it. My grandfather was 96, I believe, when he passed away. 6 months before he passed away, he was in his basement building the wooden wagons you see around the house. He was in his workshop when he was 95 years old, making sawdust, and I like that imagery. I hope to be building guitars when I'm 95.
Joel, isn't it great to meet people who are willing to take that risk and live their dream?
And Jerry sure is one of those guys. And what's wonderful about it is you end up with two things: a very happy life and an absolutely beautiful product because your heart and soul is in it. Jerry, thanks for strumming along with us.